business,
lifestyle,
global sales,
trends,
learnings.
stories.
Welcome to the Global Real Estate Podcast with Chris
Hello,
Gill.
and very good afternoon from Mexico, from the Mexican Caribbean paradise. This is such an exciting day. Today is my third podcast, and I'm throwing out with Chris Gill, Global Real Estate. And what an amazing opportunity to meet such a gentleman, such a person, a star within the Hispanic community in the U.S. And for me, it's just more than an honor to have you here today, Mr. Jason Riveiro, Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of NAHREP. For those of you that don't know what NAHREP is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. Jason, how are you, brother?
What's going on? I'm up here in the north, and so since you're by the beach, I thought I'd put something that's more familiar to people up north. I'm in Ohio, so maybe the Aurora Borealis behind me. It's the only thing I could think of, but I wish I was down there with you.
I love it. Listen, what I got behind today is a special feature too. It's sun, it's turquoise blue waters, puffy white sandy beaches, and that's what I, Christopher Gill, represent. Paradise. And that's why global real estate is such a feature to talk constantly, because people from Ohio, people from all around the world keep seeking a second home, third home, retirement home, investment opportunity. And of course, Paradise has to offer that. So Jason, first of all, on behalf of myself, my entire team, thank you so much for dedicating us time to learn a bit more today about the Hispanic community, certainly learn about NAHREP, and most importantly, invite people to get to know you better, get to know the association better, and like myself, be a proud member of it, learn every day, and grow every day. So guys, just so you know, one of the best ways to grow your business global is to find always your cultural brothers. Like we say in Mexico, your paisanos in those countries you want to expand your brand. Certainly, they will save you time in the entire process of selling, promoting, because they know by heart many of the benefits and potential you have to offer in your product or in your destination. So it's a key factor that you understand that when you try to grow your business global, you got to find those people that understand your culture, that are part of your culture in those other countries. So Jason, give me some of those bullet points about the Hispanic community. What's happening in the Hispanic community, those stats back in the US?
So look, we can spend a lot of time on this. It's something obviously that I'm very passionate about. It made it essentially really my life's work, I think, as I look at my career. I started in Spanish language radio here in the United States. And that's where I started my career. Then I had, print and all that. And it's interesting because it's a unique dynamic, right? I mean, you're in Mexico and, or let's say I'm talking to my family in Colombia. And when I talk about, what is unique about the United States is that this is a country of immigrants, right? If I was to talk about Mexico and different demographics, it'd be very hard to talk about another segment of the population that is, not just 20% of the population, but it's also driving the Mexican economy. There's not really anything like that. However, in the United States, you can, right? You can segment people. We're in the United States is the second largest Spanish speaking country in the world after Mexico, right?
Wow.
More than Spain and more than anywhere else. So it's really crazy that this country has its own sub-country, right? Subculture within it. And the Latino community is a part of that because of the growth that we've seen over the past 20, 30 years, et cetera. So we actually released a report a couple weeks ago, I'm sorry, our organization, along with one of our partner organizations at Latitude, our NAHREP at Latitude event, which you attended in your team. We had over 6,300 attendees, and we released a report called the Latino GDP report with the Latino Donor Collaborative put out. Basically said that the Latino gross domestic product in the U.S., so Latinos living in the U.S., if you were to compare them to another country, is about $2.8 trillion. That's the same or higher than the United Kingdom, than India, and then France. All within the United States, right? The Latino community. So to me, this conversation, we can talk about it a lot, but this is a very dynamic market. It's one that's growing both from population, but also from income levels. And we can hit on a little bit about that. But I and also for I would or think investing in Mexico. It just makes so much sense on so many different levels, both from a cultural standpoint, both from a time zone standpoint, you name it. I mean, it's one community, I think.
Definitely.
What do you think about that?
Connection situations here, but no problem. We're in paradise. We're happy. Let me tell you something, Jason. All these facts you're mentioning right now pretty much are describing the huge, enormous opportunities the Hispanic community back in the U.S. represent for many overseas companies, especially in Hispanic countries that are once again trying to grow the business global. I mean, what a great opportunity. Hispanic wealth is growing. Hispanic home ownership is growing. And at the end of the day, Hispanic population back in the US is growing. For me, that is a situation where I find a whole bunch of possible potential buyers seeking to actually have their second home back in Mexico, because a lot of them come from Mexico. And why not? A whole bunch of buyers that suddenly understand the way we do business back in this country. And of course, once again, that makes life easier to many companies that like ourselves are trying to get in this community, So thank you so much for those facts. I tell you, behind this man, you will find a great opportunity. Discover NAHREP, the association where business opportunities and culture intersect. Man, you can partner with Hispanic mega industry. I mean, the industry of Hispanics right now in the US is just growing by the day. You can connect with industry leaders, and even you can make impact if you actually live as a Hispanic in the US with the policy, right? With the public policy. So, I mean, NAHREP really takes you much more further on than business itself. So thank you for all that effort the association is doing. As you said, I was in Latitude, and I will bring that point later on, but Latitude was spectacular. I mean, not only the connections, but seeing the energy, seeing the willingness to continue to grow, continue to learn, being able to share very special moments with such great VIP guests. I mean, I was a few steps away from past President Obama. I mean, that was spectacular. That gentleman is full of knowledge. That gentleman is full of situations he's lived, he's shared with us, and it does take you to a point where you start thinking out of the box again. And I think that's what it's all about. It's not think you're the best. It's be humble and connect and realize how many people out there do things in a much better way than you do, and listening to them and being humble enough to learn from them will take you to the next level. And I think that's what really all these networking events are all about. So I totally suggest you to find more about this amazing association. Most importantly, be part of it. I'm a member of NAHREP. I'm a proud member of NAHREP, and I certainly will be going on for many, many, many years. So thank you for that, Jason, honestly. So before we start, I do have a couple of questions for you today, but I want to remember a very special moment between you and me, how we met. Man, the day we met, I think that was an explosion of chemics. It was something spectacular. It was my brother from another mother who I felt I met all my life. But no, I was just meeting him there today. A few days later, we were having a very special trip. You remember that trip where we went?
For sure. So we met in NAR.
Yes, sir.
I remember.
That was the first time I was on stage. It was spectacular.
Yes.
You speak before or after me. How was it?
Well, this is the truth, and I tried not to share a lot of this, but I remember we had an opportunity that the company that I was with at the time to present, and it's in a stage within a lot of other vendors. So there's stuff going around, it's very distracting, and it's tough to present up there, right? So we had our thing that we did. And I think later in the day, I remember going by there, and all of a sudden I see Chris up there, and he's commanding this room of people, just, getting them excited about it. I felt like I was watching the Mexican Tony Robbins, up there. And so it was, from there, I just, we connected and we started talking, and then, we had trips to New York and other conferences around the country. So it's been nice to build that relationship and have that friendship where, you have both business and friendship develop through these events.
You don't do business right if there's no fun along the way. And certainly, and Jason, once again, take the opportunity to thank you for your trust. Thank you for your friendship. I mean, yes, we met down in San Francisco, and a few weeks later, we were up in New York, learning from what you did at that time. And I'm so glad the way you walk, the way you've grown into this association today, who you represent, what you represent. It's something huge, brother, and I'm just glad to have seen you grown that way. I mean, there's one special trip I remember with you, which was NAHREP. That was at another association's event where we had a great event. We were panel speakers together once again. It's great how elegant you present and how energetic I present. So we kind of the yin and the yang in stage, but we balanced very well. And after that, we just decided to go to Napa Valley, brother, and that was something spectacular. It allowed me to keep learning the Jason Riveiro person that's behind that business position. And it just showed me once again what an amazing human being you are. So thank you, brother. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being there always. And man, I'm just so glad this new episode is with you. And talk about Hispanic community. It's an amazing positive impact in their life NAHREP is representing today. So let me ask you just one question. I mean, let's begin talking about why, how, and who founded NAHREP. How about that question?
Sure. So the organization was founded by two gentlemen. Ernie Reyes and Gary Acosta. Ernie has passed a few years ago, but Gary Acosta remains our CEO and of course our co-founder. And it's an interesting story, really, to hear it from Gary. And I'll try my best to kind of to do it justice. But essentially, I think that Gary actually attended an Inman conference, right? And this was really at the beginning of when everything around .com was starting to happen, right? And all these different platforms were coming around. And he noticed that he would walk around and no one was really talking about kind of the Hispanic market or any of that kind of stuff. And so he thought, there should be something out there that helps connect real estate and the Hispanic market, the opportunity there. And I know that he and Ernie had conversations about this. And so they put together an idea to, host a conference, and they got then Secretary of Housing, Henry Cisneros, who was with the Clinton administration. They invited him to come. And when he accepted, they put out a press release that Henry Cisneros was going to be there. And, they were hoping that people would come, and they didn't really even have much of a structure or anything there. But that was really kind of the start of this, is they held a conference and people came and attended. And from there started, building out chapter networks and to where now, I mean, after like 22, 23 years, the organization has about 40,000 members and nearly 100 chapters around the country. And it's very clear to say that we are the largest business organization, Latino business organization in the country, just because of our size of our membership and the passion that we have around that stuff. So it's interesting to see how it's evolved. Back then, let's see, during the early 90s, especially because I was in that too. I was selling companies to telling them that this opportunity was happening, that there were a lot of Latinos and you should take advantage of it. And now we're in a situation where it's here, right? That we're no longer a niche. We are, as you saw at our conference, we are the new mainstream economy, right? We're the ones that are driving the economic engine of the United States. We're driving home ownership. I
You
mean,
pass from an
it's
opportunity
accounted,
to a necessity.
it's
That's the
estimated
way I
that
see it.
exactly. Well, and that's the way it was always framed in a lot of companies. It was that it used to be a defensive play. It was something that was regulatory, like you need to serve these underserved communities. But really, it's an opportunity, right? And as you know, I mean, an opportunity is not missed. Someone else just takes that opportunity, right? So we're really just telling companies now that some other companies are taking advantage of this. You're going to miss out if you're not involved right now at this opportunity. So I say all that to say, because I've also seen shifting. I want to tie it back to your business because I think it's important to your audience that when I started in this space of like marketing to US based Latinos, there was always a conversation, and that's what I think a lot of corporations, especially big, large multinational companies, in order to expand their growth rate, they always had to look abroad, right? They have to go to other countries and try to sell their products out there. What is interesting now, and I think when you see that, you saw this primarily in the consumer goods space. I'm talking about like products like Ariel and products like Mexican products that are now sold here, and Mexican Coke, things like this, where actually legacy brands or heritage brands, as we call them, in that space, do a tremendous job here in the United States to sell their business, right? Look, think about a brand like Corona, right? That used to be a Mexican brand, now got bought by another, think about, Mexican Coke here. We import Coke to the United States to say that it's Mexican Coke because it tastes better, right? It's made with real sugar.
Of course.
But that's the tremendous buying power of Latinos, and also the influence that they have on the general market, right? Bad Bunny right now is the largest streaming artist, across any platform. And
200 million streams, 200 million streams. And I was reading that in LA, they just made the first Bad Bunny Day, the 1st of October is Bad Bunny Day back in LA, officially.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and so it's really interesting to see how things have evolved, and so that's why when we're the new mainstream economy, that means that we're impacting fashion, we're impacting buyers' habits, we're impacting the home ownership, and and also entrepreneurship. I mean, so I don't know if you know this, but Latinos really are driving over 50% of new employer-owned businesses that are starting, right? So they're creating that. So you're telling me that 18% of the population, 19% of the population is driving most of the entrepreneurship in this country. So businesses that are started. They're also 70% of new home buyers are going over the next 2 decades into 2040 are going to be Hispanic, right?
Big time. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So it's massive. It's massive opportunity. And it all boils down to 2 main factors: is that our community is younger, and that our community is growing, right? And so as you're thinking long term, if you're thinking about investments, that's the opportunity. So to close my point out, and just going back to the saying about the legacy brands, heritage brands, is that now those Hispanic buyers that are here, they've built some wealth, right? They're building wealth through home ownership, but they're also, this is a great opportunity for them to think about, how do I maybe make some investments in the land of my parents, or where I was born, maybe, but I immigrated to the United States. There are so many immigrants, right, that are here that want to buy property back in Mexico. And now that you, or like yourself, are a trusted advisor and they're familiar with the way things work here, you can kind of provide the same type of structure for them there in Mexico.
Big time, big time. And diversifying globally today is a huge trend. I mean, at the end of the day, every country has its pros and its cons. And certainly Mexico is one of those countries that provides low taxation, high income. So even as a saving investment is actually a very, very attractive opportunity. But let me ask you something. I mean, Hispanic Americans are, based on what you just said, are far more likely to own a home today than a decade ago. For sure, things are heading to a very positive direction. Now, I believe it's 6.5 million more homeowners in 2020 than there were back in 2010. However, Do you think there's still challenges facing for this group of buyers? I mean, are there challenges for them today to continue with this growth? And if so, what do you think those challenges are? Can you let us know?
Well, sure. I mean, the big elephant in the room will continue to be, I mean, is inventory here in the United States, right? That is the biggest barrier, and also because Latinos are more highly impacted with this issue because they tend to live in areas where inventory is actually much more difficult to come with, and also the pricing is a lot higher. So think of Los Angeles, think of New York, as such, there are markets that are very expensive and also have very, limited inventory. So that's always going to be an issue. The second part, and that's kind of where we've come in as an organization, is just the educational piece about it, the understanding of the financing, what it takes to purchase a home. Those are all parts of, having the right practitioners, having the right people to connect. So that's what we're passionate about. We believe that if our members are successful in their business, then the community is going to be successful as well because of who they serve. And so that I would say that would be the second piece, the educational piece of it. But overall, I'm very optimistic. I mean, I'm optimistic more so than any more optimistic than the general, the non-Hispanic white in terms of their forecast of the future. They're more optimistic about purchasing and planning for the future. And so that's always an upside. And home ownership and all this, and we can see it not just from home ownership standpoint, but also from an investment property standpoint. Latinos have a higher percentage of investment properties than any other demographic as well. So
Amazing.
This story that you're talking about should really relate to people.
And you know what? That is something I totally realized in Latitude. And I think, once again, you're talking about youth, Hispanic youth, and how aggressive they being towards their growth, personal growth, business growth, but as well, they don't hesitate at the time of identifying a good opportunity and jumping in. And I'm going to jump to a question I actually had prepared for further on, but that's fine. I mean, something I was amazed during Latitude is the intention, the objective, the great mission today you guys have to help those youth, to help that youth to actually become entrepreneurs and grow the business faster than maybe if NAHREP wasn't there. Tell me a bit about that.
You cut off there. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. I was saying about something I was completely surprised and amazed is how NAHREP during Latitude was making total focus at the time of supporting youth, supporting young entrepreneurs to help grow their business in a more exponential way than if the association wasn't there. So I think youth for sure is one of the objectives today for NAHREP, to make sure the Hispanic community keeps on growing solid, most importantly, healthy community, and of course, make sure they're successful business people, So tell me a bit about that support that the association is giving those young people today.
Yeah, for sure. We just put out a study called the State of Hispanic Wealth Report. And in that, we looked at overall, just in terms of the overall Latino community versus our own members. And I gave this example, earlier this week that I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but I feel like we as a community tend to not like to discuss money openly, right? And so what we've done is kind of break those barriers and say, let's openly discuss not just money, but also, how we're doing from our business standpoint. What are your goals? How can we help you get there? How do you hold each other accountable, right? So the power of having masterminds, the power of coming together with people that are also Latino and that have also been successful is very powerful, right? So if I am a young Latino entrepreneur and I'm just starting in real estate myself, and I've done well for myself, I've gotten a few transactions, I want to identify someone else that is doing way better than me, and I want to be around them and I want to learn from them. And that's the space that we create. We put those individuals together, and that's how people grow. And that's how we've seen it evolve as an organization, is that we are a network like that. And that's not very uncommon from any network that talks about money, right? So, studies have been found that, if you're involved with a lot of wealthy people, right? Or even if your children go to a school with a lot of wealthy people, that sets them up to be better financially off, down the road, because they start to see and they start to think about it and they start to plan in that way. My mother, she never really talked to me about finances or, savings or any of that kind of stuff. It was really my involvement with NAHREP that I had to start thinking about that as a future. So I think that's a big part of that.
Amazing. And that's a message, direct message to all the audiences listening today, that those young entrepreneurs, and maybe not that young, any entrepreneur seeking to find the know-how, to discover what's the best way to take a new change of direction and grow their business globally, or grow their business simply in a more exponential way, just join NAHREP. I mean, honestly, the opportunity is there. The people are there. It's not that you walk around and because someone has more experience than you, or is in a position where they're a high, well-known entrepreneur, business person, sports person. I mean, man, in Latitude, there were famous Hall of Fame NBA players, and they'll just walk past you and talk to you and sit down and eat with you. I mean, people in the Latino community are humbled and are happy to help you grow. So yeah, this is a direct message. Sign up. I mean, later on we'll share the site where you can learn more about the association and certainly learn. But let me ask you one question, and this is a question that may sound a very silly question. However, I think it's important to clarify. Do you need to be Hispanic to join NAHREP?
No, para nada. I mean, you don't. I mean, anybody can be a member. And I think that's another big, misconception that we try to address. And because I think it's for anybody that wants to serve. And you've been in this space too. I think for a long time. And you started, I think, especially areas where I've seen, Americans that don't speak any other language, right? But they saw an opportunity. And I have an example of one, individual that didn't know any Chinese, didn't know Chinese people, never grew up with Chinese people, but he saw an opportunity. He all of a sudden started seeing a lot of Chinese buyers coming into his market. And what he did is he'd go and fly to China, network with other people within real estate. He started building knowledge around that, and eventually he started getting referrals, right? And to where now a big part of his business are international Chinese buyers, right? And that's because it didn't take too much of an effort. It just took him doing something that he was not used to, getting outside of his comfort zone and going out there and learning a new culture, a new community, even though he doesn't master the language. And I think that's what people often miss, is that they want it to be easy. They want it to just be a part of what they normally do. But if you're going to grow your business, you know this, right? Anybody that wants to grow is constantly having to evolve. It's constantly having to learn new things. And this is the same thing.
Big time. Big time. At the end of the day, it's not only just thinking out of the box, it's getting out of your comfort zone. Totally yes. Totally yes. And if you don't do that, you'll probably find yourself into being just stank. I don't know how you say it in English, but you just settle down in a specific
stagnant. Yeah.
You will not grow. You simply won't grow. Feel uncomfortable with what you're doing. Learn about that situation and continue growing, for sure. Now, let me ask you another question. And this question is focused for all the audience that are in a way trying to understand the opportunity behind NAHREP when they're not in the US. No, people trying to grow globally outside of the US. Companies from Mexico, companies from Argentina, companies in Spain. Now, how do you see global real estate market today? And do you think there is an opportunity on NAHREP members thinking about growing their business global or investing globally today?
Without a doubt. Look, people sometimes have a perception, and again, this goes back to changing the narrative, that Latinos are just low to moderate income individuals, right? We did the survey that I referenced, which actually showed something that we've always known, but we were able to quantify that. And so we did a survey on the businesses of our members in terms of the net worth, and we found 80% of NAHREP members have a net worth of at least $150,000, right? More than 4 times the median net worth of U.S. Latinos overall. But nearly one third, about 30% of our members have a net worth of at least $1 million. And so there's a lot of opportunity within our own membership for them to also expand and to look at opportunities abroad. 1, because I think many of them know the language. 2, because they are a real estate practitioner, so they understand the business. And 3rd, they have clients that they could also refer. So I think that is just an easy layup. I know that that's a big part of, why we really wanted you to come and participate, because we feel that it'd be a good place for our members to know more about Mérida and Yucatan and Playa del Carmen, Tulum, all that area there, in terms of our members, and they have the ability to do that. So that's one of the things that I would say is that within our own membership, there are people that are ready to learn more, to be a part of this, just as they were also very hungry, and you saw this, to learn more about being in luxury real estate. So there's a lot of hunger to learn that, and in the whole global real estate market is another appealing area. Many just don't know how to get into it.
Big time, and that's a huge, you just mentioned something which is very important. That's a huge post-COVID trend. Luxury real estate is booming. People want to live better. People want to enjoy life. They don't know where it may go. So definitely that is a segment in real estate. People should definitely be interested in learning. And as you know, myself, we're signing up with a new company. Part of the growth of our corporate is actually ultra luxury real estate, and we'll be letting you know very soon about that one for sure. Now, let me ask you something, Jason. I know you guys help Hispanic families achieve their American dream in a sustainable way. So it's not about just helping you, it's helping generations to come after you. Could you tell us a bit more about that process, how you guys are impacting the lives of families beyond just the real estate market? I mean, what are you guys doing about that?
So it is, a lot of it has to do with the way that we educate our members. So we do about it different ways. So 1, our members, we have many members who are educating their consumers on, just getting into their first home, and then looking how they can leverage maybe that home, to buy other properties, investment properties, right? Or to renovate them. And so I can tell you there's so many of our members, some of our board members, that have stories of like many of their clients that started off with nothing that now own more properties than they do, and all through real estate, right? And the great part about this country is you can own property whether you're documented or undocumented individual. That real estate is really a very egalitarian. It's an opportunity for anybody to be able to jump in and to purchase. The second way we do is we also have programs now through our foundation. So we have certified trainers that go out in the community and they talk about financial freedom, about home ownership, about investing, about entrepreneurship. So they go out to the local community centers, churches, and whoever will receive them to talk about these messages. So we develop that training, and they go out there. So we're really excited about that effort. We've also started to do more stuff on the investment side and supporting entrepreneurs. So we're starting an angel network. So for people to invest in tech, property tech, and fintech type of companies. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and that's coming from our own members, right? That are paying to be a part of this, and they invest in these companies. So a lot of exciting work, but that's kind of what we're focused on.
Exciting is the word, man, and I congratulate you, because it's way beyond business. This is all about growing together, growing the Hispanic community. And that's why I encourage you guys, companies out there, companies that want to get to know more the Hispanic support associations like NAHREP. You can become a sponsor. You can join the events, hire a booth, sponsor an event. They're great networking event. I mean, our good friend Frank Fuentes, what an event he put up at that white party at Latitude. I repeat, my last question is all about Latitude. Thank you, Frank. And by the way, hello, I appreciate what a great event, brother. And it was great seeing you too. So let me ask you something.
I missed that one.
You missed that one. No, brother, you missed the good one. I mean, it had the 360 camera, and I got this image, and I go, whoa, papa, that was good. That was good. Everybody was dressing white, good salsa music. No, what an event. He knows how to put up a show, that Frank Fuentes for sure, and his company for sure. So what is the advice, brother, you would give to brokers who still don't see the potential in this great Hispanic community? I mean, what would be your message to them? Open your eyes, guys. I mean, it is happening. The Hispanic community is stronger than ever, and it hasn't stopped. It continues to grow, and it's going to be even stronger. I mean, what's your message to those companies, to those agents, to those realtors throughout the world that still don't see the opportunity like I do?
Well, I mean, it depends. I think that you do need to develop that expertise, and it's just like any other area of your business, right? If you're dealing with luxury buyers, there are certain things that you need to know about how to deal with luxury buyers. I think it's the same thing within the Latino community, and building a network of lenders, of other ancillary services that also understand this consumer as well, because that's very important, right? And I think that's what you've done as well, right? So if you're going to be working with foreign nationals, and let's say Americans that they're gonna purchase in Mexico, you're probably needing to work with banks that know how to deal with those individuals, right? I mean, that they can maybe work with them and I can guide them through the process in language, in English, and can kind of speak in their terms. So it works both ways. I'm sure that you have to do business a certain way as well, in the way that you speak to them. They want to see a certain level of legitimacy in that, and customer service. Although I think everything that we are used to doing in this business, we're in a service business. Many, they're very successful at serving customers. Just do the same thing, but in a culturally relevant way. I think that going back to what we said earlier is that we can't be stagnant. We have to just kind of adapt our way. And if you, I think many of us know, and you do this because you go in different cultures. There's different ways of greeting individuals. There's different foods, and there's different ways and manners by which you approach individuals. And so you have to be knowledgeable on that. Not assume that we're all the same.
Big time, big time. No, I appreciate that answer. It's a very good answer. One of the things, and you mentioned before, someone that I recently heard about, thanks to you, and today I feel he doesn't know me, but I'm starting to know him, and I believe he would be an amazing mentor. I mean, I do learn every time he does a podcast himself or sends an audio letter. Gary Acosta. Gary Acosta, man, I mean, it's a book of knowledge. I mean, my respects. I want to be like Gary Acosta one day. That would be my dream come true. But the reality is...
You and me both, yes.
Big time, big time. But one of the things that Gary Acosta was talking not too long ago was about blockchain technology and how it would actually will impact real estate. I'm a great believer of blockchain. I'm a great believer that within the global real estate industry, especially, people can start doing immediate transactions worldwide without having to leave home. And it's the safest way to do it. But what's your point of view with regards to blockchain technology? I mean, I'm a total believer, and I'm constantly seeking the best companies that follow up this this technology. I mean, as you know, there are a few that out there like DocuSign, which is starting to be blockchain. Great way to legally close a contract transaction, but it's way further and way more than just signing a contract. Talk a bit about that, my brother.
Well, I think that technology, it helps level the playing field, right? I think, using in your reference of like blockchain or or even, I think everything that we hear around crypto, and anything what's appealing about those kind of plays are that it allows just the regular everyday individual to be able to participate in something that was usually left for just a few individuals, right? And so what I think what blockchain does is it provides a level of maybe protection, but also transparency that it was not always available. And so if you level the playing field and around that, a digitalization of a transaction, and you get all of these different countries and individuals on the same platform, then things become a lot more clear. And I think more people are going to want to participate in this, whatever business you're trying to promote. So to me, yeah, I mean, that is the future. I think we're still, even forget blockchain. I mean, just even digitalization of things, we're still very behind as an industry with that, right? I mean, especially on the lending and on the title side of things, they're still very fragmented and very old school, and also very highly regulated and different at every local municipality and such. So I think technology like that will break it down and will make it accessible to more people and make it more efficient at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily an expert. I know enough, right? I've been involved in different companies that were going digital fully in terms of the real estate transaction. And that's definitely what will continue to happen and evolve. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when.
Big time, big time. I totally advise people to keep an eye open and an ear open, to all this technology. As you say, transparency, 24/7 available, constant updating on every single transaction. It's just something that we constantly are seeking for to create a good real estate transaction. When we turn that into global real estate, that means we could exponentially grow our business very, very, very much so. So yes, big time. So Jason, one quick question. If I gave you 3 reasons, 3 keys to success for those brokers, new brokers, realtors out there that are trying or wanting to grow their business global. I mean, I give my tips all the time, but I would like to hear those tips from you. So give me 3 key reasons you would give to those realtors or brokers out there.
Well, one of them is very simple, kind of what we were talking about earlier, or the example that I gave, which is one, look, you have to understand feeder markets, okay? And so if you do live in a feeder market, and so what I talk about what a feeder market is, and we know what these are we're from a referral business standpoint, and we know them from a luxury standpoint. So if you're in those areas of business, high referrals or high luxury, you understand this concept of the feeder markets, which tend to be markets, let's say like a New York or Miami or San Francisco, the traditional places where at least foreign nationals would purchase in the United States, right? Other countries have the same thing, right? Those kind of feeder markets, Mexico City, right? Another one. I mean, you have Cancun, right? And all that it can be a feeder market for those. And so I would say identify who is buying in your current market, right? If there's any opportunities, and then try to visit those places where those individuals are coming from. Great. Because I think it's important to have connections on both ends, right? Of the transaction. So that, I think that's my number one point. If you're not in those feeder markets, I also think that there's great opportunity now more than ever there's ever been before for people to explore areas that were not traditional, right? I have a friend who was from Southern California, right? A lot of Mexican nationals that he's helping from were in Texas. Now he went to Alabama and he's talking to them and be like, hey, you should come here. Look at all this land that you can buy. And, why go to Los Angeles where you can't? Look what $1 million gets you in Los Angeles versus Alabama,
Boom.
It's huge. And so helping even the buyer think of, outside of the box, because sometimes buyers only know one thing, right? Chinese buyers are like, no, I only want to go to San Francisco. That's what I hear. They're all there, telling them there's other parts of this country where you can get a lot more bang and maybe return on investment of things. And so to me, there's an opportunity now more than ever to educate your buyers on that, because of the way things are with inventory, but also because of the way things are with virtual work, right? You like to talk about digital nomads. That is a huge opportunity for real estate. And there's no better country in the world better set up to capture this wave than Mexico.
Totally. I mean, the other day I was reading the Independence newspaper back from the UK, and they were calling Tulum the new Dubai. I mean, people are literally in the mindset where if there was another pandemic, where would I like to be stuck? And of course, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, Cancun is certainly a good destination to be stuck, not only because of the great weather and the great beach, but also the way things were handled. And I think there were restrictions, but there were flexible restrictions with certain level of common sense. And people that were actually stuck here spread the word. And of course, that's helped us grow exponentially our business. As you know, just this year, we doubled up sales from the previous year. I mean, as a tourist destination, our Airbnbs closed at 65-70% occupation ratio during pandemic. So that's spectacular. Wow. That is totally spectacular. So I totally agree with you, brother. I totally agree with you, and the great keys. Thank you very much for sharing that. I'm a great believer and lover of global real estate. I think lately all I do is global real estate. So let's continue with that, guys. And remember, you definitely got to contact Jason, his association. And before we end this podcast, don't go, because we will be sharing certainly how you can contact NAHREP and be part of NAHREP and continue to grow business globally, grow business within the Hispanic community, and grow knowledge. It's all about knowledge. Jason just said it. Times of crisis, times of opportunity. When a place is starting to be overwhelmed in cost, lifestyle is no longer as good as it used to be, there's always a new spot that people may not talk about, but certainly offer you that opportunity. Alabama. I never heard about Alabama before. I mean, I did hear about the phenomenon of Texas for all those California people moving into Texas. And I know Texas right now, by the way, has one of the highest percentage of population in the U.S. of Hispanics. I believe Hispanics actually do become the highest percentage of Hispanics.
They're the majority.
Majority, exactly. Thank you for giving me that word. I was kind of stuck. It's the tequila I had this morning. Sorry. But yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Now, let me go back to Latitude, because it was my first Latitude. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been told to go to Latitude for 2 or 3 years. My agenda, in a way, suddenly timing wasn't perfect. But finally, this year, I was in a beautiful city, San Diego, amazing spot, the Grand Hyatt Manchester. And here I am finally in Latitude with a lot of friends, but most importantly, new friends. I made great connections. I met famous people. I mean, here in Obama was spectacular. Seeing the family, La Familia Estefan was something spectacular. Meeting sport people, meeting great entrepreneurs. Met Mr. Trujillo. I didn't tell you about that one, but suddenly I'm in the elevator and Mr. Trujillo is next to me, and an amazing conversation between lobby level to floor number 8. Spectacular. A few seconds for me was like, is it him? Yes, it is him. Wow, wow, wow. And man, just a few wise words opens your mind span into new opportunities. So thank you, Mr. Trujillo. You probably don't remember me, but I was there in the elevator talking to you, and it was a great opportunity. But let's go back to Latitude. Tell me more about how this event begun. How is it involved with NAHREP? Because I know there are more corporations. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but there's certainly more entities involved than NAHREP for this huge event. And why would you advise people that still don't know about this event to not miss it next year?
So we are a founding owner, partner, however you want to call it, in Latitude. We worked directly, with Soul to make this event happen. And so It was envisioned, now in the fifth year, which was really the fact of taking what the success that we've had as an organization to curate content, to execute events, really to elevate the conversation of Latinos in this economy and what they're doing to a broader audience, broader industry. So not just real estate, but also looking at music, entertainment, other segments of business, right? Entrepreneurship. And that's where Latitude was born. The idea to create our own South by Southwest, where eventually other organizations could also plug in and be a part of it and bring their people to it and have their own agenda. And that started to really happen. I think you saw that this past time where, we had the Hispanic Scholarship Fund attending there. We had Alpha. We had other, organizations as well that participated, and they brought their attendees. And so that's all was around kind of reshaping the narrative, because what we saw in Hollywood, what we saw in the news, and what we saw maybe just prejudice out in the United States around Latinos wasn't the reality, right? We're not all here. We're not here to, we're not all undocumented. We're not all, poor people that need help or things like that. We're not, we're trying to change the narrative that for the most part, most of our community, regardless of their status, is here to contribute to this economy, and that the U.S. is better off if Hispanics are better, and they are contributing at a higher entrepreneurship rate. Like I mentioned, there's nothing more American, as I like to say, there's nothing more, cherry pie and ice cream and red, white, and blue than entrepreneurship. I mean, and Latinos are embodying that. They are the entrepreneurs. And that's actually been proven. Actually, immigrants as a whole, immigrants are by far the highest level of entrepreneurs in this country. Look at Jeff Bezos, right? Family came from an immigrant. Look at Google. Look at all these companies, these startups. Those are all immigrant started companies. And so that's all it was around the narrative. So showcasing that talent, bringing those people to the table, and then bringing the companies, the CEOs, not just middle management, but the CEOs. That's where really, I think Sol has really done such a tremendous job, is making sure that Fortune 500 companies are there to listen, to see for themselves the crowd of people, and not just hear it from somebody else on their team, but for them to see it as well, is that if they're not participating right now, that they're losing out. They're losing out on this opportunity. So that's where Latitude came. And I think we hit a milestone while you were there, where we hit a milestone in terms of every activity that we had, the attendance, and the sky's the limit. I mean, I think that, I can see this hitting 10,000 in the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years. So we've already outgrew that the Manchester Hyatt. We're going to go to Miami next year. So that's going to be exciting. You'll definitely be there. That's a quick trip for you.
That is a quick trip. Make sure people know where it's going to be happening. The Fontana Blue, right? I believe.
The Fountain Blue in Miami, yes. So we're going to have it there, and maybe you can have the after party in there in your area, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Come down.
I'm always into after parties, so yeah.
You can charter a plane or something for us.
We'll try to do something. I mean, we'll never lose the opportunity to share what's happening here. Make sure you're part of that business. So that's not just a bad idea. So, brother, once again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I mean, my podcast, this is only episode 3, but I'm so honored that you're part of it, that you're sharing what's happening in the Hispanic community. You're sharing how important NAHREP is for you if you're planning to grow your business, if you're within the U.S., and how important it is for companies like myself that are back in Mexico or any other Hispanic destinations, and they want to learn more about the Hispanic community within the U.S., and of course, the opportunity that's behind that. So how can people sign up to NAHREP? Where do they need to go? What they need to do?
Perfect. Yeah. So everything, I think we try to make it easy. It's all on our website, NAHREP, NAHREP.org, NAHREP.org. And you can look at where our chapters are. You can become a member of a chapter, a local chapter there online. You can find out where our events are. We're going to be hosting some regional events coming up. in the Southwest and also in the mountain region. So Albuquerque, New Mexico will be coming up. And then in the winter, well, we're already in winter, but in December, we're going to be having one of our final events there in Manhattan. So you're welcome to come, Chris. We're going to have one of our Hispanic Wealth Project events there, and going to do some really exclusive, cool things with attendees in Manhattan.
Thank you, brother. I'm always in any NAHREP event, and certainly just send me where it's going to be, the time, and I'm in 100%. Well, guys, this is pretty much it. Thank you for letting us know this. Remember, always send up real Chris Gill _ to make sure you not only see this amazing podcast today, but future podcasts coming up, and a lot of content all to do with global real estate. For me, it's a pleasure to share my 22 years knowledge, learnship along the way on how to grow your business global. For me, it's been an honor to be here today with my brother, Jason. Jason, thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you. Thanks for having me on here, and look good.
Thank you. God bless you, Jason, and stay safe, but keep growing your business global. Follow me, Chris Gill. Thank you, Jason.